Hello, Zoe Rose here. Welcome back to my channel. So I just spent the weekend in Paris. A couple of hours of walking around the streets of Paris. My head is spinning. I am swooning from the sheer beauty of the architecture, the grandeur of the monuments, the expanse of the sky, the charm of the restaurants all decked out with lights and flowers, the energy, the people. Paris is like a field of pulsating, colorful butterflies. It is like the sum of all of our aspirations, our loves, our passions, our wildest dreams. It's like the dawn or the dusk when the edges of reality begin to blur and the imagination takes over. I see flowers blossoming in fast motion, words spilling out of books, paintings coming to life, people dancing, music playing. It is like walking around in a cloud of dopamine. Reminds me of my 11-year-old self staring at the boy across the classroom that I had a crush on that day, just kind of like, oh, well, hey, everything's so beautiful. And then just at the nick of time, I realized that my foot is about to make contact with something brown. And I have to do the lunge, right? Oh, that is what you call the rude awakening. It's like finding fish tackle in a jewelry store. Actually, it makes for some interesting choreography on the streets of the cities, because you can pretty much predict where it is by the movements of the other pedestrians. I mean, all of a sudden you'll see people waving around to the right or to the left. Bum, 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 right? Or maybe they'll do a little hop and skip and on they go, or maybe it's just the one confident stride over. And then there's always one, doesn't see it in time. And then you get the stomp and the slide and the glide and the twirl. The urban waltz. This is nothing unique to Paris. Now, I'm from New York City. And in New York City, you are always scanning the ground for something that you do not want to get better acquainted with. So, New York. I left New York 25 years ago, and I've never been back. Since then, I've actually lived in 5 countries and 11 cities, but Paris is always my favorite. And there are a lot of things in common between Paris and New York. For one thing, they named the metro system in Paris Rat Pee. And that's pretty much what you're going to find when you get onto the subway in New York City. In plenty, rat pee. But anyway, I live now in Strasbourg. Strasbourg is a whole other kind of energy, very laid back, very relaxed, slower pace. People just kind of stroll calmly down the streets, very often arm in arm, taking up the whole sidewalk. And here I come at my Roadrunner New York pace. It's like hitting a brick wall. So I've developed a strategy of weaving in and out of the pedestrians so that I can maintain my New York purposeful gait, right? And I've noticed that people will just kind of like step aside and let me go. They're like, okay, crazy person. I have to admit, if I had to be watching myself objectively, this tiny little figure darting in and amongst the other pedestrians, I'd probably also think, yeah, you know what? Could be crazy person. But for all my breakneck pace, I am extremely careful. Whereas the people of Strasbourg are never looking where they're going. You have got pedestrians walking with their faces in their phone, headphones on, right into the bike path as the bike is approaching. Never once do they look up. You've got the bicycles riding without their hands on the handlebar, texting, shooting out of side streets, barreling around corners. You've got these electronic scooters zipping down the sidewalks at 50 miles an hour. And now you've got these unicycles and hoverboards with no visible means of stopping or steering these personal transport vehicles. And I look around at all these people and I'm like, why aren't they dead yet? Right? We call that in New York City roadkill. Alternatively, target practice. People in Strasbourg feel very, very safe, Go to a restaurant, sit down, leave their purse, their knapsack, while they go up to the bar and get a drink or to the restroom. And I look at this and I'm like, don't we call that in New York City crime victim. Oh, but there are other dangers on the mean streets of Strasbourg. You've got extendable dog leashes that span the entire length of the sidewalk, and a dog owner that says, dog has priority. Where do you have to be that's so important? You've got chestnuts falling on your head. You've got mothers with baby carriages. Now, one would think that being in charge of this very, very precious cargo, that they would be extremely careful, but no. These are some badass bitches. They are gripping these baby carriages like they're at the wheel of a tank, barreling down the streets, just daring you not to get out of their way. People are leaping off to the side. It's like a cruise ship parting the waves. Now, I don't want to pretend to know what's going on in their head because I don't have children of my own, but I'm thinking that maybe they haven't slept since that thing was born. Maybe just threw up on their favorite shirt and they are in no mood. Or maybe it's just having gone through this incredibly painful and labor-intensive process of pushing a watermelon out of a straw. I've gotten to the end of this and like, okay, I did it. I'm alive. It's alive. I own the world. Out of my way. Mothers and babies, such an intense relationship, right? Everywhere you go, mothers and babies, and inevitably these babies are screaming at the top of their tiny little lungs. Mothers desperately trying to comfort them, rocking them, patting them, putting duct tape over their mouth. I just want to go up to them and say, you think this is bad? This is the easy part. It gets worse. Childhood, such an intense time, right? I mean, everything is new. You're trying to make sense of the world around you, the people in your life, your own emotions, your body, the lint in your belly button. I remember when I was a child, extremely shy, extremely quiet, and terrified of the dark. I used to beg my parents to let me sleep with the light on. But no. Strict lights out policy, especially my father. He did not want me to grow up to be a sissy. Too late. I already was one. Anyway, I developed this ritual, right? Before I'd go to bed, I would check the room for monsters. Anybody else ever do that? You know, first you go to the closet, open the door, make sure there are no monsters hiding in your clothes and your shoes. Dad has to check the upper shelf up there. You can close the door, no monsters there. And then you have to check your dresser drawers, make sure there are no monsters in your socks or your underwear. And then, most importantly, was the monster under the bed. You all know that one, right? The one that's lurking there, waiting for you to put an innocent foot a little too close to the edge so that he can reach out and grab your ankle and pull you under, and it's like... Well, they would finally demonstrate there were no monsters in my room. We'd get into bed, they could turn off the light, and I would go to sleep. But it would inevitably happen that in the middle of the night, I would wake up, I'd have to go to the bathroom, and I had no way of knowing if a monster had not crawled under my bed while I was asleep. So I'd carefully measure the edge of the bed to the point at which the hand could no longer reach my ankle. Call it the grabbing zone. And I would stand up and kind of leap out of bed, right, hit the ground running, head to the bathroom, come back, leap back into bed. Well, I must have avoided the monsters all these years because here I am. I'm an adult. And I don't worry about monsters hiding in my room anymore. I don't bother checking the closet. They're occasionally under the bed, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure they're not hiding in there anymore. Because you know what? They are out brazenly walking the streets of the cities in broad daylight. They are lurking on the internet. They are occupying the highest seats in the American government. I just want to say to them, come on, guys. I mean, where is your self-respect? Your consideration for tradition? Just get back under the bed. Go back into the hiding. Just go, right? I mean, the nerve. But seriously, we do live in a pretty scary world right now, right? I mean, every time I read the news, there's some terrible natural or man-made disaster. And whenever I read the descriptions of the victims, it always seems like they were the most wonderful people ever. I mean, they were intelligent, they were talented, they were kind, generous, they were going to change the world for the better. They were like angels, sent down from the heavens to bring light and joy into everyone's lives. And it makes me wonder, do only good people die in these terrible things? I mean, just once, really just once, I would like to read that there was terrible avalanche. They're digging out the bodies. They come across this one body. Somebody comes to ID him and goes, him. You know what? God, he was the biggest fucking asshole. Good riddance, right? I mean, come on, God. If you're going to send out the avalanches, the fires, the wars, at least get rid of the bad guys. But leave us, our angels. There are all sorts of things you have to get used to living in a new city, a new country. I mean, walking down the streets of Strasbourg, I noticed that there are these random condom machines on the residential buildings. And I'm like, well, is that because this is a place where people are known to go and have sex in public and they want to have ready access to protection right there available to them? I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, they should put up a sign, right? The DFZ, the designated fucking zone, right? And, you know, there's a very unique sense of humor here in France. And one of the ways that it shows itself is in the weather report. So you read the weather report in the morning. It says, sunny skies, not a cloud in the sky, not a chance of rain, high in the 70s. Go have a picnic. So you go have your picnic. 2 hours later, the storm clouds roll in. The sky is crackling with thunder and lightning. And then all of a sudden it splits open and the squall hits the ground. Scattered around trying to find shelter. Again, I'm thinking that these guys in their weather towers are just sitting there looking down at everybody going, ha ha, you suckers. And the other thing that I really can't get used to here is the doctors. Now, you go to a doctor in the United States, the first thing they do is they check your blood pressure, they measure your heart rate, listen to your lungs, they'll measure you, weigh you, take your body temperature. You won't get to a doctor here, and all they do is pull out their little prescription pad and say, oui? And I'm like, well, doctor, you know, it really hurts when I walk. I don't know, I may have sprained my ankle. Can you look at that? And they're like, really, that must be very distressing for you. Antidepressants. Go to the doctor. Doctor, I've got this big, huge lump under my jaw against my throat. It's just growing to the size of a grapefruit. What do you think that could possibly be? And the doctor's like, I didn't see anything. Antidepressants. Doctor, I'm taking the antidepressants that you gave me for my gallstones. And I gotta tell you, I'm in so much pain. It's just getting worse and worse. I can barely get out of bed. I'm nauseous all the time. My skin is turning green. And not only that, but the antidepressants are putting me in a terrible mood. I'm screaming at everybody all the time. I can't think straight. The doctor's like, oh la la, that must be very distressing for you. Stronger antidepressants. I'm like, doctor, don't you think somebody should look at my gallbladder? It's like, oh la la, everyone's a doctor these days. Just be happy. We are happy here in France. Happy, happy, happy. Before I moved to Strasbourg, I was living in Germany for 7 years. To say I had a 7-year itch was like the understatement of the millennium. It's like I was surrounded by a swarm of mosquitoes. You know, it's interesting, Germany, for the Americans, because it feels very familiar to us. You know, there are a lot of German immigrants in the United States, and the United States basically rebuilt Germany after World War II in its own image. So we go there and we think, yeah, we got this. This is completely familiar. Until you scratch the surface. German people are obsessed with their rules, their regulations. They will tell you everything about how you are going to live your life, and you will do it, and you will like it. The first thing that changes when you cross the Rhine River, France to Germany. In France, if you're standing at a traffic light waiting for the light to change so you can cross the street, French person will look both ways. There's nothing coming. They just walk across, right? Normal. Cross the Rhine River on the other side, the Germans, the light is red. They will stand there and wait for that light to turn green. Doesn't matter if nothing is going on the street. The entire time that they are waiting, they will stand there and they will like it. And if you're not following the rules to their satisfaction, they feel compelled to instruct you so that you can better fit into German society. So one day I'm waiting at a traffic light. I'm on my bicycle. and stopped at the line that they paint on the ground to show you where you're supposed to stop with your bicycle at a red light. And I'm just waiting for the light to change, and there's a woman on a bicycle next to me. And I notice she keeps looking over at me, look, the ground back at me, back at the ground in front of her. She bursts out, she's like, "You're over that line! Back, 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 back." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, OCD." But if you actually need help with something, you're going to meet with an entirely different reaction, okay? So I'm racing one day for the tram. I'm not sure which direction it's going in, so I jump on and I say, "Is this going to Landwasser?" And everybody turned to me in unison and went, "We don't know." And I'm like, "Really? You don't know? You're just on the tram for fun, just taking that ride to nowhere?" Another time I'm waiting online at the post office. And the post office doubles as a post bank, just like it does here in France. But in Germany, they've got these nifty multi-functions machines that they put right in the lobby, so you don't ever have to go to a teller to do your transactions. Isn't that efficient? So I'm waiting online. In rushes this tiny, plump, little old lady with short gray hair and glasses, and she goes straight for the machine. She's poised to make a transaction, and she's completely stumped. And she's looking at the machine, trying to figure out what prompts to follow, and she's getting very flustered, and she looks back at the people on the line and back at the machine, tries to hit a few prompts and get even more flustered, and finally she turns to the youngest of the people on the line, and she says, "Can you please help me with this?" All turned to her in unison and went, "We don't know how it works." And she's like, "Really? You don't know how it works? You dumb idiots." I had to laugh because, give me another 20 years in Germany and that's going to be me. This real kind of passive-aggressive thing going on in Germany. I'm on the train one day and I find a seat by myself, so I sit down at the window, put my bag down next to me. I was watching the world go by, and all of a sudden, I see out of the corner of my eye, there's this rather substantial derriere angling its way in to take that seat. And before I can snatch my purse off the seat, she sat down right on top of it. And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And she turned to me and she said, "You should have expected me to sit there." And I'm like, "What?" Right, because I should be tuned in to Deutsche Bahn ham radio. Psycho alert, incoming. Another thing with the Germans is they had to be asked to move. They can be out in any kind of public space, maybe the narrow aisle of a supermarket or right in the doors of a tram or a train, and someone will just kind of plant themselves there. And they're not moving. They're growing roots, they're sprouting leaves, and because they have a tendency to be fairly large, and usually wearing an enormous backpack that takes up the depth of two people, they're like turtles carrying around their houses on their backs all over the place, you simply can't get past them. So you're forced to say, "Excuse me," and they will at best ignore you. And if you persist in doing what you think is the polite thing to do, which is to say, "Excuse me, please, can you please just move just a little? I'll be on my merry way," they will finally turn to you and say, "You are so impolite." And it's like, turns out they don't actually mind being pushed out of the way. Now, you push a New Yorker out of the way, yeah, they're going to pull out whatever weapon they are carrying, and they will kill you with it. People just seem to expect it. And the authorities recognize this about their people, and when they designed their new trains, instead of the kind of pleasant ping or bing that other trains use to announce the opening and closing of the doors, they chose an ambulance siren that every time the doors open and close, it's like, because they realize that their people need the oral equivalent of a cattle prod to get them to move. Oh, and then there's a German language. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's kind of an interesting language. They take all these tiny little word units and put them all together to make more complex concepts. It's like the Lego of languages, building blocks. But some of these small word units can seem very, very primitive. Like human beings' first attempts to create a spoken language system. So, for example, the word for over there in German is da. Da. Now, I don't know about you, but I see this scraggly-haired, scraggly-bearded, pelt-wearing, barefooted caveman going da. I mean, French, it's là-bas. English, over there, da. And the word in German for let's get going is los. Los. French, allons-y, on y va. English, off we go. Los. So I picture in my head an early conversation between cavemen. They're out hunting in the fields of tall grass with their wooden spears, and all of a sudden one jumps up and goes, "Dah!" And he's pointing at a saber-toothed tiger. Los. When I put these words together, it's very specific. It's like mechanical precision, because built into the word is its own definition, its own assembly instructions, and its own customer service model. I mean, a word, for example, in German for television. Now, television sounds very mysterious, right? Futuristic. But in German, the word is Fernsehen, and that translates as watch from afar. So I'm imagining the first German to ever see this black box. They don't know what to do with it. So they turn it on and they go, "Ah, you watch from afar." No need for customer service. No need for any other instructions. There it is right in the name. My favorite word in German is actually Eisprung, which is the German word for ovulation. Now, ovulation is very Latin, very clinical. You envision a doctor with a white coat, little glasses, right? Ovulation. Eisprung translates as egg jump. So they turned this into a little mini action movie. You got to picture this little egg standing up, saying a tearful, "I must go," jumping out of the fallopian tubes, heading down the ovaries on its journey through the female reproductive system. But a word that the Germans coined, which other people have picked up on because they're the only ones who would create a word like this with such mechanical precision, and that is Schadenfreude, which translates as the pleasure that you take in the suffering of others. And it's a particular pleasure if you have been the one to inflict that suffering. And they say this with absolute complete emotional detachment, as if it were just a natural, logical conclusion that pleasure should follow in the suffering of others. Interestingly enough, no word for compassion in the German language. And anyway, the longest word that I came across in German is, you ready for this? Rindfleisch-Etikettierungs-Übertragungs Aufgaben über Wartungssystemsgesetz. It's like a square wheel clunking its way down the street. Basically translates as beef labeling laws. Now the French language, on the other hand, this is a beautiful language. Everything sounds like poetry in French, right? Like, où est les toilettes? But French is like fluid. It's like music. It's like being borne aloft on the gossamer wings of angels. The fact that I can't understand a single word anybody says does nothing to detract from the sheer transcendental joy of listening to this beautiful language. But the way they accomplish this is by getting rid of all those pesky consonants. You know, the consonants that separate one word from the next? So that all you've got on the French side of the Rhine River now are the vowels. And they're kind of like the elegant homunculus of the alphabet world. Meantime, those pesky consonants, they've headed out to the other side of the Rhine River. And they're over there. They're kind of like the Sly Stallones of the alphabet world. So they're just kind of hanging out, buddying up, maybe drinking a beer, looking over here, going, they think we're not good enough for them. Well, that's okay. We don't need them. We can make words without vowels. So you get half flicked. 11 letters, 2 vowels. Quatsch. 7 letters, 1 vowel. So listening to the German language to my ear, it sounds like they've taken that now empty beer can and they're slowly crushing it in their bare hands. It's like... No, but not being a native speaker in the country that you're living in can lead to lots of funny little misunderstandings. Like, in Strasbourg, and I see a sign on a storefront that says photocopies, impressions, tampons. And I'm like, any English-speaking female knows that that is something that you normally do not find in a photocopy shop. It is like walking into your favorite restaurant and finding out that they'll fix the brakes to your car as well. Another time I'm in Montgomery, and looking for garbage bags, and I see that their 20-liter garbage pan says right on the front, Parfait pour les affaires de votre ex. Now, that probably means something entirely different to a French person, but to me, that means, oh, okay, so this is what I use when I'm packing up my now ex-boyfriend's things that he left all over my apartment, so I can throw it in the garbage. Good to know. And, I noticed here in Paris, there is a restaurant called Kim Fok. Kim Fok who? But anyway, after a few disastrous attempts at cross-cultural relationships, I am single and happily so, living alone. So please don't introduce me to your single friends, because you know what? We single people are single for a reason. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And you get a bunch of particularly older singles in a room together, they're going to be kind of like checking each other out going, yeah, I don't think so. Because despite the fact that we have gotten older, we still look in the mirror and see our 25-year-old selves. So the women have had so many facelifts that they've basically tied their face on the top of their head with a bow, and the men are straining to button those shirts over that expanding girth, but they're like, oh yeah, I still got it. Now you ain't got it, but I still got it. It's like, yeah, I don't think so. But when you're young, you've got this vast supply of those proverbial fish in the sea to choose from. And the problem is that older you get, that sea shrinks to a lake and then a pond, and finally it's just a puddle on the ground, and you stomp in that puddle, and up comes the one available fish, and he looks at you, and you look at him, and you're both like, yeah, I think so. But you also get very, very good at picking up on signals that set off alarms in your head that say, danger, 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 get out while you can, run. So you meet a new guy, he seems great, and then he comes to you with all sorts of helpful suggestions for how you can change to suit him. It's like, run. Meet another guy, and he wants to make all the decisions for you because he's so sure that he knows what's best for you, even more than you know for yourself. It's like, run. You find it there in the Epstein files 137 times, run. Yeah, but honestly, there's not a lot of motivation for somebody like me to be in a relationship. I mean, I'm of a certain age, right? And I'm used to being on my own, kind of set in my ways. And what do I want? When I come home from work, tired, I just want to relax. And there's some guy there who immediately gets up and goes, where's my dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. Where did you last see it? It's got to be around here somewhere. Because despite all the changes in society, men still seem to think that when they've got a wife or a girlfriend that they're getting a built-in housekeeper with the deal. They've created this entire fantasy image for what women are based solely on their own needs and desires. And they project that onto us. And it's like, but it has nothing to do with who we are. But, we adapt. First of all, they're bigger than we are. And we do need them to carry the heavy stuff, so we have strategies that we've developed. Like, all women will know this one. This is the adoring gaze, right? This is the pose that you take when your man is telling you every little detail about everything that happened to him during his day, how his boss praised him for getting his work in early, his colleagues pranked him because they're jealous, the color, the shape, the smell of his bowel movements. It's like, oh, yes. That is so fascinating. You are just the most brilliant, interesting, handsome man in the whole world. I love you so much. Meanwhile, mine are a million miles away shopping. But there are actually people who think that a woman who does not accept this role that has been foisted upon them secretly want to be men. Yeah, they've got penis envy. Oh, come on, guys. Seriously, penis envy? I mean, lovely as they are, I think our equipment is pretty impressive. In fact, I think it's men who have ovary envy. I mean, just look at all the men with these enormous bellies looking like they're 9 months pregnant, ready to pop out triplets any minute right there, right? I was in a restaurant a while back with a bunch of people, and one of the guys kept ordering two of everything. And I finally asked him, well, when is your friend coming that you're planning on sharing this food with? And he said, oh, no, this is all for me. I'm eating for two. And I was like, God, that is so wonderful. Congratulations. When are you due? I don't know what it is that men seem to think that having a penis makes them smarter. When has any good decision ever been made following that head instead of this one? I mean, like, all right, Melania is saying to Donald, yeah, I don't think so tonight, dear. I have a headache. And Donald's like, bomb her on. But, getting older for women can be a very, very difficult thing. I mean, men, somehow or another, you seem to just gain this mystique. You almost become more attractive. It's like a burnished patina that you acquire over the years. Whereas we women, we just kind of like shrivel up like raisins. You throw us in your cornflakes, eat us for breakfast. But I have to say, I've developed a different attitude towards things. The way I figure it is, we start our lives in diapers, and we end our lives in diapers. So as long as I'm old enough and young enough to pee in a toilet, it's all good. But I do have to admit, I am obsessed with anti-aging skincare. I mean, I read all the ads, look at all the ingredients, look at all the blogs. And you know what's so annoying? Is that they choose these 18-year-old models with radiant, perfect, glowing, bouncy, juicy skin to advertise a product that's meant for somebody like me. The skin by now is more like memory foam. And then they just smear it on their cheeks, right? Because this is the way I wear my skin cream, like just like this. It looks like war paint. And you add that to the hairstyles, the makeup, the push-up bras, the waist cinchers, the bubble butts. And actually, it is a declaration of war. Be afraid. Be very afraid. And they use all sorts of these weird ingredients right now, like snail mucin has become very, very popular. Now, what I want to know is, who looked at that trail of slime that a snail left behind it was gliding along the ground and said, I think I'll put that on my face. Yeah, that'd be good for me. Come to think of it, who looked at that snail gliding along the ground and thought, this looks tasty. I think I'll eat that. Garlic and butter can cure a whole host of ills. But I never actually buy the products. I just buy the ingredients and I try to make everything myself. I'm like a mad scientist. You look into my bathroom cabinet and there are all these jars and powders and vials and oils and potions and lotions. Like the weird sisters of Macbeth. Double, boil in trouble, fire, burn, cauldron, bubble, with all of Neptune's oceans not rid my upper lip of those smokers' lungs. But anyway, are any of you out there from Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z? Did you ever ask yourself why they chose the last 3 letters of the alphabet for these last 3 generations? I mean, were they figuring that surely by now we'd have blown ourselves up and there simply would not be any future generations to need to designate? Well, we're still standing after all these years, so they got to start all over from the beginning. So after Gen Z comes Generation Alpha. And then the baby's being born now, this is Generation Beta. So you got Alpha, Beta. What's going to come next? Caca? Doo-doo? Cock-a-doodle-doo? We gotta wake up, folks, because if you've ever heard the old adage, the more things change, the more they stay the same. I look around at everybody, and you are still wearing the same jeans and t-shirts and hoodies that your grandparents debuted 60 years ago. I mean, by now, shouldn't we be wearing these spiffy, futuristic bodysuits that they wore on the Starship Enterprise? And we put a man on the moon 60 years ago. What do we have to say for ourselves? Katy Perry went for a joyride in space? I mean, we should be zipping through wormholes at this point, like getting on the water slide in an amusement park, winding our way through, splashing out into galaxies 300 million light years away. I mean, if we are going to find a habitable planet before Donald Trump finishes this one off, we gotta get moving. Come on, Gen Z, get off your social media and invent warp speed. Because the technology is moving in leaps and bounds. It is becoming so sophisticated. But you know what? All we can do is kind of think of clever gadgets to make for ourselves, right? Just to be very, very self-indulgent with it. And originally it was just there to help us make our lives easier. And in fact, it's gotten really, really much too complicated. And we are required, all of us, to use this technology in our daily lives. And we have to spend all of our time trying to figure out how to use it so that it can make our lives more simple, easier, right? Technology. Now, I have to admit, I'm very, very attached to certain very old-fashioned technology like washing machines. You know? But why is it that one sock always goes missing in the wash? And it's always one of your favorite socks. I mean, is there some secret portal leading that from machine to sock heaven and it's made its way up there and it's waiting patiently for its partner to arrive? And why is it that when I wash the duvet cover, everything else ends up inside it? Now, this is a relatively narrow opening. When I have to stuff my fluffy 200 centimeter down comforter into that narrow space, I struggle for 10 minutes. But the complicated acrobatics in that machine, everything just slips right in. You got the other sheets, pillowcases, towels, shirts, pants, everything. You take it out at the end of the cycle, and you've got Santa Claus's sack, ho, ho, ho. And you dump that thing out. And if you put something long and narrow in there, like pantyhose, it will have wrapped itself around everything else like a king cobra. And if you put 2 pairs of pantyhose in there, they will have found each other. And they are mating. You cannot pull those things apart. They are in the throes of coital madness. You're going to find little baby pantyhose running all through your laundry. But this whole digital world, you know what, it's really more trouble than it's worth, it seems to me. You know, streaming music on YouTube. Now, I settle in with my book in a comfortable sofa. I just want to listen to the music and read, and then 10 minutes in, it stops playing. And I get a message. Would you like to continue listening? And I'm like, why are you talking to me? I mean, it's like calling out to us from this vast, abstract digital universe going, hello out there. Are you still alive? Just checking. And then you want to change the security settings on your phone, and you'll get a message, are you sure you want to do this? I mean, this will have serious consequences. I'm going to give you 4 seconds to make sure that you know that you're making an educated decision. It's like, yeah, right, thanks, Dad. And these phones, you know, it is convenient to have everything in your entire life on this tiny little thing that fits in your pocket or your purse. But how does anybody type on those tiny little keypads? I can't do it. I mean, I think I'm going to have to just evolve these long, alien-like silvery fingers with flat tips so that I can finally type accurately on those tiny little keypads, because now, you know, I inevitably hit the key next to the one I'm trying to hit. I hit the shift key when I'm trying to get the A. I hit a letter when I'm trying to hit the space bar, and I look down at the end of this, what I've written, and it's like one long worm of a word. Looks like German on drugs. It's so indecipherable that not even spell check can make sense of it. And that's my other nemesis, is spell check. You know, I have my phone set to English, so when I'm typing in French, it will transform it. So I've typed out, je suis très fatigué aujourd'hui. And it changed it to jet skis trace fat ogres around. And I'm like, what? No. So I try to change it back. I write fatigué. It changes it back to fat ogres. I'm like, fatigué, fat ogres, fatigué. And it's like having a boxing match with spell check. And by now, it's predictive. All you have to do is type out a few letters. It will figure that, oh, you must mean to say this. We'll get to the whole end of line of type, hit send, and off it goes. Get a message back. What did you mean by this message? No, like, I didn't write it. Ask spell check what they're talking about. They're the ones who did all the work. Spell check. But because we're using these tiny little formats for language, we've really shrunk our language usage. I mean, we make our messages as efficient as possible. We abbreviate lots of words, and then we've got the acronyms. Acronyms. Is there some secret glossary to all of these acronyms that everybody knows about except me, because I never know what anybody's talking about? I mean, even LOL. Now, I wonder who was ground zero for LOL, and how did everybody know what he meant? Because the first time I saw LOL, I thought it meant lots of love. That's optimistic, right? But honestly, it could mean anything. It could mean light operatic lunches. Could mean logic over lunacy. But the most likely interpretation for LOL is limited orthographic lessons. Because we don't bother learning how to spell anymore. Spell check will do it for us, except that by now, you know what? You really do need to know how to spell, because you've got to correct whatever it is that spell check has done for you. But what about all the other acronyms we use, like BFF, Best Friends Forever? Yeah, right, biggest fucking fantasy. How about RIP, rest in peace? You know what? That could just as easily mean resuscitation is possible. Whole existential can of worms right there. It's like, let me out of here. And oh my God, OMG. Maybe it means orangutans might giggle. Or maybe orangutans may go. And then you've got all of these acronyms flooding in from the world of psychology. You've got these stern-looking men with their deep voices and their doctorates in psychology, and they've put our personalities on the slab in the morgue, and they're going over with a fine-tooth comb like a forensic analysis, and everything is being blown up in a microscope, bigger, until it looks like a disease, and it's like, oh my God, antidepressants. So how about OCD? Wouldn't it be more fun if it meant orangutans can dance, right? Or ADHD. A lot more fun if it meant a dead hungry duck. How about AVPD? Apples versus potato dumplings. PTSD. Now that's rife with possibilities, right? President Trump suffers dementia. Pete took Sam's diamonds. Prominent turtles served dinner. How about prominent turtles served dinner to a dead hungry duck, offering apples versus potato dumplings or cherry donuts? That's a lot more fun, right, than these obsessive compulsive labeling disorder psychologists. But with this incredible shrinking of the language, we're being surrounded by a proliferation of symbols. Everything is being turned into pictographs. We are de-evolving. You know, the cornerstone of civilization is a written language. Whereas we are now going back to the time when cavemen just used to scrawl pictures on every available surface, right? You've got emojis. You never even have to think about how you feel anymore because you just look at those little emojis, those little funny faces, and pick the one that feels most like you do at the moment. It's like, okay, that's like that. Everything on the computer programs, instructions in pictographs. I never know what they mean. I'm afraid to touch anything. I'm afraid I'm going to set off a timer for the bomb that is going to destroy the whole world. It's like 10, 9, 8. And it's like, how do I stop this? How do I stop this? It's like, fine, I have to throw the computer out the window. Pictographs. You go into a public space. Everything is hieroglyphics. It's pictographs. I go into the train station in Strasbourg, and there's these weird circles and double arrows on the ground, and then an eye with a line going through it. That's disturbing. And somebody told me that's for the blind people. And I'm like, how good does it do that? But anyway, the only thing that I actually still recognize are those friendly little arrows, that point to the left, point to the right. But now, when they want you to go straight ahead, they point those arrows up. It's like, what? Am I being directly directed to the pearly gates? My journey is over. Judgment is upon me. My life starts flashing before my eyes. And then there's Chatelet Les Halles. Pictographs. But the thing that I really hate is telephone answering systems. Now, when I was growing up, we actually had a physical phone, a box, a receiver. You pick up the receiver, you put it to your ear, you either punch the buttons or dial a phone number, and you can call your doctor, a lawyer, the police, the hospital, a government office, and a person will answer the phone. It is absolutely revolutionary. Now, you get these telephone answering machines, menus that will tell you everything that you don't need to know about everything before you finally manage to speak to a human being. I had to call my bank, and the answering menu comes on. Hello, how can I help you? And I say, I'd like to speak to my account advisor. And it's like, okay, but before I can transfer you to your account advisor, please state your account number slowly and clearly, digit by digit. So I'm like, 24637. It's like, okay. So that was 7519826. No. Okay, let's try that again. Please state your account number slowly and clearly, digit by digit. 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 7. Okay, so that was 7521987. no. And it's like, okay, let's try that again. It's like, no. And I have to hit the hang up button. And that's the other thing I really miss about having phone. Because, you know, when you wanted to like punctuate a conversation, you're really pissed off at whoever you're talking to, you can just take that receiver and slam it down. Right? Very cathartic, very, very satisfying. But now you've got this little hang up button. And it's like, pew. It's like, pew, 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 pew. I mean, where is the joy in that? Pew, 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 pew. You have to be careful these days because, you know, the personality police are out patrolling and they see somebody going like this and they're going, anger management issues. Doctor, antidepressants. Right. Had to call my telephone service provider. And it answers, hello, welcome to Labara. I will be accompanying you today on your journey through customer service. And I'm like, what? Journey? No, please, no journeys, not today. Didn't buy a ticket, don't have time. Can I please just speak to a customer service advisor? It's like, no. First, we're going to take you through all the possible solutions to all the possible problems except yours. Hoping you will exit the system before we get to the very, 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 very last option, which is to speak to a human being. And then once they speak to this human being, they want you to extend your journey by filling out a customer service satisfaction survey. Customer service satisfaction surveys. Everyone wants your feedback. How are we doing? Coley Privé loses a package. I get email after email. How can we improve our service? And I'm like, package, mailbox. I had to call INP. And after I finished speaking to the customer service representative, as it was transferring me to the customer service satisfaction survey, I hung up because fuck if I'm spending my time that way. The thing actually called me back. I hang up immediately. The phone rings and I see INP on caller ID. And I'm like, okay, I answer and I get this voice. Please hold for our customer service satisfaction survey. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. And I hit the hang up button. And then that thing called me back yet again. And it's like, I didn't answer it this time. I let it go to the boîte vocale, and I get this long, drawn-out message. Please hold for our customer service satisfaction survey. Please hold for our customer service satisfaction survey. Please hold for our... And I'm like, oh my God, it is like the ghost of Christmas past coming to haunt me. I'm Scrooge, and poor little Timmy is going to die because I didn't want to leave my customer service feedback. And then there's the journey, right? Now that is another thing that we've taken way, way too far. I mean, everything in our lives now is described as a journey. You got a relationship journey, career journey, customer service satisfaction journey. And we're forgetting that the word journey means very simply getting from point A to point B, departure, arrival, simple transaction. And instead, we've adopted the French journée. And the French journée has nothing to do with point A and point B, but everything that stretches out between them. So that going on your journée is like launching your little boat into the vast sea of life. Everything's new, everything's exciting, everything's an adventure. And somewhere off in the distant horizon is your destination. And this encourages you to embrace your daily experiences, right? So I wake up in the morning. I'm ready to embrace that journey. I'm ready to take whatever comes my way, right? I've got a job interview that day for the perfect job that I'll love to go to that pays me enough to enjoy my life. I have my coffee. I've put on my favorite businessy kind of dress. I've listened to my positive mindset affirmations. Off I go to the tram station and I see that the tram is going to be 10 minutes late. So I rush for the nearest bus station and I get there just as the bus is approaching. I get on the bus and I think it's okay. I'll still make it to my train on time. And then the bus gets stuck behind a garbage truck. And I'm sitting there going, no, please, just go around the garbage truck. Go around, just go over the fucking garbage truck. Finally, the garbage truck turns off and off my bus goes, gets to the train station. I rush for my train and I get there just as it's pulling out of the station. And all of a sudden, that destination that was within reach this morning has just gone poof. And I'm in a completely different part of the sea, right? So I go home, I change into my ratty old sweatpants and I'm eating peanut butter out of the jar and Googling how to lower my cortisol levels naturally and watching funny cat videos. Now in this new part of the sea, I'm just like a brightly colored bauble bobbing around in the sea of life, strutting and fritting around upon the stage. And now there's always somebody who comes to try to comfort you when things like that happen, and they go, "Oh, there. Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans." And it's like, is that what happened to you? It's like, no, dear. I got from point A to point B very, very quickly. But for you just embrace that journey. There you go. And if you actually try to steer your little boat back to that destination, everybody around you is going to go, "Hey, where do you think you're going?" You can't get there anymore. You want a bus now. Sit down. Antidepressants for you. But with all of the kind of takeover of technology, society's getting very, very overprotective because they figured that by now we're just so used to letting everybody else do our work for us that we can't do it for ourselves anymore. So they better make sure that they're taking care of us, right? Now, I understand seatbelts. I mean, I'm sure that they've saved a lot of lives. Though I have to say, at my stature, I put one of those things across my body and it will lodge itself firmly against my throat. So if there actually ever were an accident, long before I hit the windshield, that thing is going to strangle me. What about fat-free milk? I mean, come on, does anybody really think that 20 calories of milk fat is going to make a dent in the trend towards the expanding girths of the general population? I mean, you go into a supermarket, you see these shelves of very virtuous fat-free milk, demi-écrémé milk, all there, right? And then right next to it, miles of aisles of cookies and candies and cakes and chocolates. And if you actually drink this stuff, you feel very, very self-righteous, right? Because you've done something good for your health. So surely you deserve a reward. And anyway, that stuff tastes awful. I mean, basically cow piss, so you've got to get rid of the taste in your mouth. So you look at the little cookie and you go, "Oh, what can a little cookie do, right? 350 calories here, 20 calories here. Yeah, that'll balance out." But why have they redesigned all the bottles of liquid so that you can no longer remove that bottle cap? I mean, never mind the fact that you try to pour out of one of those bottles and the liquid will end up in the cap splashing all over the place. And you try to drink out of one of those bottles and the blades in that cap will scratch your face. So what disaster are they trying to prevent with that? I mean, were people constantly littering the streets with these bottle caps? I mean, they're piling up into mountains, roving from street to street, city to city, country to country. You have to call it immigration control. People secretly sitting at home, smoking weed, going... Looking at that little bottle cap, well, that's a pretty color. I wonder if that tastes good. Popping them in their mouths and now they're choking to death. Or were people secretly using them as weapons? You can just kind of turn away, surreptitiously open your bottle cap, pick your victim, fling it really fast, frisbee style, right? And then just turn away. La-di-da. And all of the different hoops that you have to jump through just to get onto the internet these days. First, they want you to prove that you're human. Because honestly, what else would I be? And to prove this, they send up this little grid, right? And you have to pick out first the crosswalks, then the fire hydrants, then the bicycles, then the motorcycles, then the cars, then the buses, then the trucks, then the bridges. Honestly, if I had a pet orangutan, he could just as easily do this. So all they're proving really is that at least it's a primate sitting in front of the computer. And you get past that and then you think you're going to go onto a website, read an article. No. Then a big banner comes up and says, "Choose your cookies." And there are those little cookies again, these little crunchy, yummy, sweet bites of childhood happiness. Yes, we want your cookies. Give us lots of cookies, lots of cookies. And you forget to read the small print, which says that basically we and our 963 partners would like to install data gobbling Pac-Man onto your computer so we can take all your information and store it on our computers. And we'd like to store our personal information on your computers. Doesn't that sound good? No? How about extra chocolate chips? White chocolate chunks? Fudge frosting? No. Well, don't worry, because we care about your privacy. So at least let the ones with legitimate interest install their data gobbling Pac-Man onto your computer because it's legitimate. I mean, they're going to take your personal information and do something useful with it. Like send it to their marketing experts. 6 months down the line, they'll send you a product that you might want to buy. Sounds good, right? As opposed to those other partners who are just randomly collecting everybody's personal information and doing who knows what with it, except 6 months down the line, somebody steals your identity and you're like, gee, I wonder how that could have ever happened. And then you get past the cookies. Think you're going to read an article? No. Then comes a big banner that says, sign up for our newsletter. You have to swat that away. Then another comes up and says, download our app. Swat that one away. And then an ad comes up saying, you might like this website even better. You swat that one away. And then another ad comes up, how to get rid of your belly fat. Stop eating cookies. You swat that away. And then ad after ad keeps popping up. You have to swat them all away. You're trying to find the article. You find one line here. You find one down here. It's like trying to piece together a German Trennbar verb. You need the proverbial Vorpal blade to go snicker snack. Take that, newsletters. Take that, apps. Take that, ads. On guard. And then there are all the two-step verifications for all of your websites, your government websites, your emails. You need a 20-digit password for these government websites. And you put that in and they're not satisfied that it's you. So now they want to send you a one-time password to your email. And your email has two-step verification. So you type in your 20-letter password there, and they say, well, we're going to send you an SMS to make sure that it's really you. So you get the SMS, and it gives you a code to put into your email sign-in so that you can sign into your email to get the code to put into your government website. And by the time you get there, it's timed out because it took too long. And with all this protection, your bank card, go to any store, put it on a little screen reader, just book some money right out of your account. Just like that. No ID, no password, nothing. Anyone with your bank card can clean you out. So tell me, what marketing expert convinced us that that was a good thing? I mean, we are so gullible sometimes, we humans. They can sell us anything. Cool mist humidifiers. Because that's what you want on a cold winter day, the London fog rolling through your living room. Pneumonia weather, right there in the comfort of your own home. How about energy-saving hand dryers? Might as well be waiting for the second coming of Christ, right? And memory foam. Now tell me, why do I want a brand new pair of shoes that when I take it off at the end of the first day, my footprint is in there? It looks like a fossil. And I can't help thinking that 100,000 years from now, there are going to be archaeologists rummaging through the ruins of our century and come across these shoes with the fossils in them and go, yeah, it's not so surprising that these humans didn't last all that long. But I have to say, I am a shopaholic. I am a dedicated, unashamed consumer. I feel it is my civic duty to shop till I drop and support the economy, even if I have to do it single-handedly. It's become so frustrating to shop for clothes, for example, because, for one thing, the fashion industry has shifted all the sizes to accommodate this expanding girth of the general populations. So what used to be a small is now an extra small. And for the people like me who can take an extra small for the very first time, we're like having emotional orgasms. It's like, yes, oh my God, it's an extra small that I lose weight. But with the person who used to take an extra small, this new extra small, there's room for 2 of them in there. And because I'm making everything oversized, it's room for 4 of them in there. It's like putting on a tent. And then you've got one size fits all. Who was the fit model for one size fits all? Alice in Wonderland, she's tall, she's short, she's fat, she's thin, she's every woman. When I see one size fits all, I read tent. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got skinny jeans. Now, what sadist invented skinny jeans? Women, for the most part, do not have skinny legs. But we want to be fashionable, we want to be beautiful, so we squeeze our bodies into these garments, we get them zipped up, and we think, well, maybe they will make us look skinnier. But then you turn around, and you're like, see your derriere blossoming out behind you because those things stretch. And you're so horrified by what you see, you just reach for the nearest tent and cover everything up. And what about Ugg boots? I mean, just calling something Ugg should be enough information to teach you that you should not put this on your feet. When I see Ugg boots, I think of Bigfoot monster tromping through the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought him down. And then you've got the traditional dress pump for women. You cannot call that a shoe. That is a torture device. That is a bunion maker. No one has feet shaped with these narrow, elongated, triangular, pointy toe areas. But we want to be fashionable. We want to be beautiful. So we squeeze our feet into these devices. And because they're on high heels, our foot is getting ever deeper into that narrow, elongated, triangular, pointy toe area. And the deeper it goes, we can feel our bones crunching together. And it's like, oh yes, this is comfortable. I can walk around like this all night. Can you imagine a man ever doing anything like that for beauty's sake? Yeah, that's all we can do to get them to pull their pants up, right? I mean, come on, guys. You do know that when you bend over, that crack appears? Way too much information. But the other thing that's so frustrating about going shopping, especially in Strasbourg, is that from one store to the next, everything's exactly the same. I mean, there's some panel up there that has decided, okay, there are going to be 3 styles, and every store, every designer has to make their own variation on these 3 styles, but they have to make sure that they are choosing the dullest, blandest, most putrid colors available, that the patterns are taken directly from your great-grandmother's tablecloths, that the cuts are the most unflattering that you can possibly make so that everybody looks as awful as they possibly can. Now, shopping used to be so much fun. I mean, you go from one shop to the next. Each of them has their own line made by their own designer, and you go through all the different options, and you're looking for that special sweater or scarf or garment that's going to say, yes, this is me. This expresses my personality perfectly. This is how I want to present myself to the world, right? In the meantime, these clothes are more like wearing camouflage. You just want to blend in. They're like putting on an invisibility cloak because you want to make sure that the personality police don't pay any attention to you. It's like, no, I don't have a personality. You can leave me alone, right? I mean, that quirky little girl that Prince sang about in the 1980s with the raspberry beret. Yeah, she's wearing beige. But honestly, it's gotten ridiculous. It's gotten so out of hand. I mean, I used to be described, for example, just as introverted. Now I've got social anxiety disorder, SAD, SAD, which is actually probably a better explanation for why I'm introverted, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm extremely curious intellectually about lots of things. I read about everything that I can. And now I've got ADHD, a dead hungry duck. And I don't really like being touched by random people in uncertain circumstances. And they call that sensory processing disorder, SPD. Which sounds suspiciously like an STD, though having SPD, I'm unlikely to end up with an STD. But honestly, it is like my whole personality has become a crime scene investigation. CSI out there swarming the scene, they've got me all cordoned off. If I smile one day and not the next, I've got bipolar disorder. If I interact differently with one person than another, I've got multiple personality disorder. It's like, I'm just a Gemini. If I get pissed off at something somebody says, I've got disruptive mood, dysregulation disorder, leading to unipolar depression with anger or irritability as the dominant feature. It's like, he was just being an asshole. But no, my personality violates certain regulations. I've got to bring myself into compliance. The CSI is called for backup. They're like, we've got one over here. She's got PTSD, ADHD. It's like, oh, don't even bother trying to do anything. We're sending out the troops, sending out the troops. I just wish that they were equally diligent with the chemical companies so that they would stop spewing poisonous gases into the atmosphere and the air that we breathe. Stop dumping poisonous chemicals into the water we drink. Stop spraying poisonous chemicals onto the foods that we eat. But now if I don't smile one day, that's going to change the course of human history. And anyway, when I get too bored of shopping in the stores, I just watch women on the streets. Sometimes I'll see one with a really pretty dress and I'll start to follow them. I'm like, oh my, I wonder where she got that. Maybe they have that in my size. But meantime, because of my rather petite stature, but don't call me short because I identify as tall. But with my rather petite stature, I have a tendency to be right at eye level with women's chests. And sometimes I'll start to watch these kind of voluminous orbs just like bobbing around, pushing against the fabric, making these big balloon kind of shapes up there. And I'm like, shouldn't I have those too? I mean, I have to go to the kiddie department for a trainer bra. And why do they call it a trainer bra? Do they seriously think that it's going to encourage those little rosebuds to blossom forth? Meanwhile, all the time that I'm looking at these women going, God, I wish I were more like that. The women have noticed this and they're like, oh yeah, she wants me. It's even worse if I'm around men. I'm seated and there are standing men around me, like at a restaurant, on the tram or whatever, because I turn my head and I'm right at eye level with their crotch. Sometimes I'll see that they're looking down at me, so I'll look up and our eyes meet, and he's like, oh yeah, she wants me right here, right now. The silliest thing about being this height is grocery shopping. Because I go into the grocery store, and inevitably the thing I want is at the top shelf, and there's only a few left, so there's all the way at the back of the very top shelf. So I'm jumping up, trying to reach this thing, trying to climb up those shelves until a very kindly taller person comes by, smiles down at me, takes it down, hands it to me, puts me on the head. You child, you. And anyway, thank you so much for listening. So Rose here.